China has announced that it is officially banning effeminate men from television in what many consider to be a government crackdown on culture. In this video, we're going to take a look at that crackdown. We're going to see how it even involves mandated time limits on video games. And stick with me to the very end of this video when I'll reveal what's really behind this cultural shakeup, not just in China, but indeed throughout the world. You're not going to want to miss this. Greetings, everyone. Dr. Steven with you. Great to be with you as always. I am your daily fake news antidote. As each and every day I provide patriotic analysis to help you to think better so you can feel better in these crazy and turbulent times. So if you haven't already done so, you know what to do. Make sure to smack that bell and subscribe button. Before we begin, let's give a huge shout out to the sponsor of this video, and that is Prepper's Peak new solar water heater. With all of the lockdowns we've witnessed over the last year, this solar water heater can turn out to be our very best friend. The solar water heater is an amazing device. It allows you to heat and boil water outdoors using simply sunlight. Is that not cool? It can heat water in as little as 30 minutes. It'll work anywhere the sun shines. You can use it to boil water, to cook noodles and rice. You can use it to sterilize water for drinking. And the best part is that if you click on that link below, right now you're going to get an additional 15% off their already reduced price. So do not wait. This is a limited time offer. Click on that link below before they sell out and get your own Patriot Sun cooker today. All right, gang, let's dive right in here. We've got some fascinating developments coming out of China. China's national broadcasting regulator has just announced that it will be banning all, quote, effeminate aesthetics in all entertainment shows on Chinese TV. China's National Radio and Television Administration said that moral conduct, the political and moral conduct of actors, must now be part of the criteria for the selection of actors in TV programming, and that criteria now includes banning what regulators called, I kid you not, sissy idols and effeminate men. The measures were sketched out as part of an 8-point plan late last week and issued by the National Radio and Television Administration to address the Chinese government's growing concern over the entertainment industry's influence on the young, and influence that is, quote, severely polluting the social atmosphere. Now, this isn't something new here that China's doing. The Chinese government has for some time now been cracking down on pop culture, Western pop culture making its way into China. A couple of years back, China banned men from wearing earrings on television. They even banned male athletes, particularly their soccer players, from showing off their tattoos on the field. They're now required to wear skin-colored bandages. And last March, the government announced their plan to deliberately cultivate masculinity among young males in order to cohere better with traditional gender roles. And the androgyny that tends to characterize Chinese pop culture recently crossed over from characterizing their male entertainment. The hottest so-called boy band a few years back was actually a group of androgynous girls. And so this is what the Chinese government considers to be gender confusion. And the government is very worried, and they're deciding to crack down on this. Now, this immediately raises the question as to whether all these woke corporations here in the United States are now going to finally renounce China and its repressive social policies. Are we going to see Lamar James finally stand up for the rights of the oppressed in China, just like he's been so inclined to do when it comes to our own society? Or are we going to see Hollywood stand up to China for their human rights abuses? I mean, think if the United States government had imposed similar bans on Hollywood. Just imagine, what would they have said about that? They simply have no problem screaming at and decrying Texas for its recent abortion ban laws. So come on, what do you got to say to China? Well, we all know the answer to that one. Thank you, please, may I have another? They're all bought and paid for. Woke corporations, the NBA, Hollywood, Democrats, rhinos, they're all in China's pocket. We know that. I wouldn't hold your breath, as I'm sure you know. What this latest move by China proves is that woke corporations, in the end, are going woke solely for money, solely for the marketing value, nothing more. This is the thesis of the book Woke Inc. Inside Corporate America's Social Justice Scam by Vivek Ramaswamy. And I think he just got some major corroboration for his thesis. So that's one takeaway here. China's latest crackdown now on effeminate men, the public portrayal of effeminacy, has indeed exposed Hollywood and the NBA and our corporate elites here in the United States to be nothing more than a bunch of grifting hypocrites whose selective wokeness is ultimately nothing more than a cheap marketing gimmick. But obviously something far deeper is going on here with respect to China itself. And I think that this ban on effeminacy and the emphasis on cultivating masculinity is but the latest example of a stunning global turn, a turn that's going on quite literally all over the world. It's a stunning worldwide paradigm shift that scholars are calling post-secularism, and particularly the dynamic known as re-traditionalization. Now, if you've been a follower of this channel for some time, and if not, make sure you smack that bell and subscribe button, but if you've been with us for some time now, then you know these two terms well, or at least they're not going to be completely unfamiliar to you. Post-secularism involves the notion that our world is currently going through a massive religious renewal, the likes of which the world has never seen. And it's a religious renewal that is successfully overturning, however gradually, the secular modern world that dominated the globe for the last century and a half. And at the heart of this post-secular turn is this dynamic known as re-traditionalization. I know it's a fancy schmancy word, but it's rather simple. It involves the trend where populations are more and more returning to their customs, cultures, and traditions as a backlash against the secularizing processes of globalization. So, like, you take institutions like the EU and how they tend to destroy language, culture, custom, tradition of their member nations. Well, that's where you're seeing nations like Hungary and Poland reasserting their religiosity, their kinship, their national symbols as mechanisms of resistance against those globalizing dynamics. And as it turns out, China's no different. When faced with the highly secularizing dynamics of Western culture, particularly its pop culture, China's responding with its own neo-Confucian revival. While the Communist Party was once very critical of Confucianism, that criticism has waned of late. And instead, the parties engage in a very real religious rapprochement with Confucianism as part of a revival of nationalist sentiments sweeping throughout the nation. President Xi Jinping has recently called for national rejuvenation, with a revitalized Confucian ethic at the heart of that rejuvenation. And at the heart of Confucianism is the role of the traditional family as the model for the ideal society. So now we can see why China's so concerned about what kids are watching on television. In fact, you probably heard that China has officially mandated that minors are allowed to play video games for only 3 hours per week. That's it. My wife and I joke that we need to send our son to China for a summer or something like that. But you know why China has implemented the ban? In order to overtake what China considers to be the increasingly culturally degenerate West. China sees the West flame beginning to flicker out and is looking at the practices and fashions that characterize the dying civilization, and it's mandating that those practices be immediately banned from Chinese culture. It's a fascinating development for sure, and the good news is that the West is indeed going through its own post-secularization and re-traditionalization. Unfortunately, it's just nowhere near as swift and pronounced as China's. So once again, we are reminded that the world really is indeed changing right before our very eyes in ways we might never have imagined. The world is becoming more and more post-secular, more and more traditionalist, and more religious. All as secular modernity, slowly but surely, collapses into dust. Now, before you go, you will definitely want to check out my latest video. I just uploaded it on the world exploding over vax mandates. You won't believe the size of the crowds that were protesting all over the world this past weekend. It's going to absolutely make your day. So make sure to click on that link, and I will see you over there. God bless.